I recognize the honourable member for Coquitlam Mallowell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to speak to Bill 6, Information Management, Documenting Government Decisions Amendment Act 2017. And I have some very serious concerns about this piece of legislation that's here before us in the House. It's also known as the duty to document piece of legislation. And I have to say how disappointed I was when I got elected about the fact that this didn't exist already, Honourable Speaker, because, I mean, I come from a professional background. I'm a family therapist. I have a professional duty to document. I've had to keep case notes. I have to keep reports. And, Honourable Speaker, I have to keep them for 7 years, and I have to be able to retrieve them, because that's what you do when you're a professional, Honourable Speaker. You document, you document, you document. I also worked in the social service industry for many, many years. And it's an industry, certainly in the nonprofit sector, that receives government funding. In fact, this government funds a whole bunch of social service agencies that I worked at over the years. And the amount of documentation that we were required to do to demonstrate to this government that we were accountable, that we were transparent, that we were using these public resources to meet a requirement, the goals that were set out for us, Honourable Speaker, the volume of paper that we had to complete was quite substantial. We were given a duty to document. If we made decisions as an organization, we would have the details of who was there and how the decision came to be made, and then we had to store it, Honourable Speaker, and we had to keep it for a number of years. That's what a duty to document is, Honourable Speaker. Well, here, we have a situation where a government got caught. They got caught because they were triple deleting. They were getting rid of evidence. They were getting rid of information about what they were doing or what they weren't doing. And it was based on the fact that people wanted to know what was going on around Highway 16. And there was this culture of, well, let's just get rid of the evidence. Let's just get rid of the documentation about what we've been doing, so that we don't have to report it. So, Honourable Speaker, so when you have a culture of triple deleting, I don't even know how to triple delete. I can double delete, Honourable Speaker, but I can't triple delete. I don't know how to do that. Then it became this really big scandal about how this government's culture of not being transparent became a problem and resulted in having to develop some legislation that says that they have a duty to document. So then we get a hold of this piece of legislation, Honourable Speaker, and it falls short. And it falls short, Honourable Speaker, because there's all this discretionary, that they may do this and you may do that. Well, Honourable Speaker, that kind of discretion, and the member who spoke earlier, the minister who spoke earlier, talked about needing to make sure that there's flexibility. Well, you can do all kinds of flexibility around that, Honourable Speaker, when you may do this or you may do that. It means that you don't have to. You don't have to. And when you have, Honourable Speaker, the BC Information and Privacy Commissioner and others who recommend legislation to document and ensure that the government records are created and maintained, and then a bill that doesn't quite hit the mark, that's a problem, Honourable Speaker. When you have the BC Freedom of Information and Privacy Association say, what the minister is proposing is a pathetic excuse for a response to massive pressure for action on this issue. A legal duty uses the words must or shall, not the word may. I think you have a problem. I think you have, Honourable Speaker, a very weak piece of legislation that doesn't quite hit the mark. I would expect, Honourable Speaker, that given the triple delete scandal, that this government would put together some very strong language to make sure that it holds itself accountable. Because right now, Honourable Speaker, I don't believe British Columbians trust what this government is doing, especially when you put in weak language like may. When you do that, Honourable Speaker, it means that you have lots of wiggle room. It means that you don't have to do anything. And it calls into question, why bother with this at all, Honourable Speaker? As a professional counselor, I wasn't given the option of you may write notes or you may keep a report. It was really clear. I'm required to. I'm required to keep notes. I'm required to document. I'm required to keep track of dates. I'm required to keep reports. I'm required to report out on them. I'm required to keep them for 7 years. You follow the rules. But when you have a wishy-washy may, Honourable Speaker, you don't have a rule. You have a suggestion. You have a guideline. Honourable Speaker, given this government's history with triple delete, I would suggest that they consider, very seriously consider, some of the amendments that are going to be proposed, because I think that will strengthen this piece of legislation, Honourable Speaker, and I look forward to hearing the rest of the debate.